And we are back with writer, actor, producer, director, the quadruple threat himself, Edwin Alexis Gomez. Hello, Edwin.
Hi, it's so great to be here with y'all.
Please tell us literally right now, what are you doing?
Literally, I am so LA. I am in my car right now. I am in the I am in the middle of, with quarantine and social distancing, and the premiere of the film. We're sending the producing team, my producers Angela Pedraza and Evelyn Angelica Martinez and I decided we wanted to do something, and we made these thank you packages so that the cast and crew, even though we're away from each other, can still enjoy the same snacks, the same champagne. And it's almost like our premiere party, but it's at a distance for the safety of everyone,
Wait, that's so sweet.
That's lovely.
What film? Tell our listeners. Tell us all of it.
Festival.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So this film has been a labor of love. It is called Joyride, which follows two teenage Latina sisters who break their grandmother out of her senior living facility for one last joyride. And currently, it was a selection for the PBS Short Film Festival for 2020.
That's so amazing.
I know, it's been so great. And it's also just paired with 24 other amazing short films that are docs and narratives. And I feel so honored to be amongst these powerful films dealing with family, heritage, race, all these things that right now are at the forefront of our country, even when we're apart.
Yeah.
That leads me to my question. And I saw the film today and loved it because I was like, representation matters.
Yes.
And I love to see it. So what or who inspired you to write that script?
Yeah, so it's such a beautiful question, and it comes from, like everything, this kind of painful place. So a lot of what led to the impetus of writing Joyride was actually losing my mother. Like, she passed after about a 13-year battle with cancer, and I just wanted to think about, I was really in my head thinking, what do we inherit? Right? What do we inherit from the people we love, from our families? And for me, like Juana in the film is a conglomeration of my mother, Gloria, and my grandmother, who's also named Juana, which is why Juana is named Juana. And I just wanted to showcase their power, their kindness, the ways in which they really did raise me with a lot of love, even as someone queer. I wanted to showcase that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It was like, because I know a lot of LGBTQI kids who grow up in the Latin households. Normally, like for me, I didn't come out until I was like 21, 22, because I just didn't ever feel comfortable enough or anything like that. So you had like a good like support system. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, definitely. I came out when I was 15.
Wow.
And I was on, but I will say I was on the buy now, gay later plan because.
Me too, sis. Me too.
Because it was like, saying you're bi gives people hope, right? For your future. Like, it makes them think, because especially when I was 15, it makes people think that, oh, you could still get married. Oh, you could still have kids. It's still a possibility. Not that it's not a possibility if you're queer or part of the LGBTQ community. But it was one of those things that genuinely, like, I really wanted to just come out. And literally, this happened in French class. So dramatic, I know. It happened in French class. Turned to one of my best friends, said, hey, I'm bi. Literally couldn't live a lie any longer. Looked at the clock, 15 minutes had passed, and I turned around and I was just like, actually, I'm just gay. I'm gay,
Yeah.
And so that led to having the courage to come out to my mother, who, we had our own journey with being queer, and I told her. But then the thing that surprised me was my father. So my mom talked to my dad, and the next day he came to my room, sat on my bed, and said, "Son, I don't care who you love. You're my son regardless. You know, I love you." You know, and I know that not everybody has that experience, but once your family really comes in and lets you know how much they love you, you can confront the whole world. You know.
Yeah.
Mhm. Where's your family from?
My family is originally from Nicaragua,
Right,
and
right.
so my dad grew up in Tipitapa in about, it's probably about 15 minutes from the capital, Managua.
Mhm.
And then there was also, sorry, I'm gonna have to take that one over. I'm so sorry. Like
Okay.
I so my family's actually from Nicaragua. Both of my parents. They had a total novela style love story,
Oh,
you know, where they ran away together because my grandmother did not like my dad at all. And so in the 70s, my mom, because my step grandfather was from Brownsville, Texas, and she had citizenship through him. She had to move in the 70s to the States, and she settled in Los Angeles, and she came pregnant with my brother Alan and had to leave like my older brother and my dad behind. And so we just, you know, they settled in East LA. My dad and my older brother, you know, who was like maybe 4 or 5 at they settled in East LA, and then about 2 years before I was born, they moved into the San Gabriel Valley, which is about 15 minutes from Los Angeles, from downtown. So that's kind of where we came from. And I would always, like, when I was young, I always for some reason in my mind, downtown Los Angeles was Nicaragua because my grandmother still lived there. And so so I would always get really, really excited to go to Nicaragua, which just meant downtown.
Do you know how the LGBT community is accepted or not accepted in Nicaragua? Like, I'm asking because are your parents just like a special gem to accept you being Nicaraguan? Is that how you would say it?
Nicaraguan, I love it. Nicaragüense, if you want to try it, it would be how you say it in Spanish, but Nicaraguan is perfect. Do you
My
want to do it
lips
with me?
don't work that
Okay.
We're still working.
No, totally. So actually, I will let you know that until 2008, Nicaragua was one of the only places in the West that still criminalized homosexuality.
That's what I thought.
So there's a whole journey where there are like Nicaraguan folks who are accepting of their family, who really do love their family regardless of their sexuality. And then there's a faction of folks who have all that internalized homophobia. So in 2008, I got the opportunity to go and interview this gay man who lived in Managua, and he let me know that, like, some folks, it comes to a point where, you know, you guys will hook up and someone will murder the other person. And I mean, like, this was so hard to listen to in 2008, right? Because that's how deep that internalized homophobia goes. And there are, of course, safe havens in community. When you're queer, when you're part of the LGBTQ community, we're always looking for each other. We're always like, hey, sis, I see you.
Right? Oh, thank God.
So I know that I'm very lucky in having parents who really supported me and were very open with who I was and honored everything that I was.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. What a blessing.
I know.
So do you think that your upbringing like inspired Joyride at all in terms of struggles? Maybe not your necessary struggle because it sounded like you had a great coming out experience, but maybe like for your culture at all?
Yeah, you know, I'm all about the black sheep of the family, but then I realized, like, a lot of us growing up are the pink sheep of the family, which is a totally another layer, right? And so for me, finding out that, like, you know, my parents running away together already set them up to be a little bit rebellious and anti-establishment and going against the grain. And I think that it kind of gave me some freedom. And the way that that kind of influenced the writing itself is just, even in the word, okay, so there's something that a lot of people forget, and it's that, like, yeah, you can learn Spanish in high school or in college, but Spanish is such a, just like a lot of languages, there's so many different dialects. And then the thing is, when you come down to it, the Nicaraguan dialect, instead of saying like tú, you say vos, a vos te gusta, you know, you know. So, and then the way that words are said are very different too. And it was very important for me to have Juana speak the Nicaraguan dialect. And I love, because Blanca Araceli, the actress who plays Juana, you know, she's Mexican, and I loved that she really built in this layer that I had written in, and we would always talk about it. Like between shots, it'd be like, wait, like this is how I would say it, you know? And it's like, so just finding those bridges, right? Also never really having seen a Nicaraguan character myself in film.
No.
You know, was something very critical for me to showcase. And also the fact that it's not in the film itself that when it's finished, but Marina and Karina, the granddaughters, they're also Mexican and Nicaraguan, right?
Wow.
So they're actually married. So there's this nuance there of like, and there's one word, like, so there's one word that Karina says that's very Mexican, which is like for me, and also Chicanx, is this idea of the word chingona, like you're a badass, right?
Yeah, I noticed that.
So those things are like very specifically Mexican, and then things like vos are very Nicaraguan. And I wanted to start creating a narrative that kind of reflected the lives that I've interfaced with my friendships, with my family, because there's this intermixing, you know, between culture itself, even when you're Latinx.
Well, like Adam was saying, the film really resonated with me as well. In 13 minutes, you know, with it being a short, you were able to really tell, I feel, a well-rounded story from start to finish. Did you ever at one point want the story to be longer? Did you want it to be a feature? Do you see it continuing in any type of way?
You know, it's wonderful that you asked that, and thank you so much. We as a team really worked on, because we had to cut quite a bit of the film that was written and filmed down, because we went so hard that we have all these scenes that didn't even make the cut, because we were looking at developing the feature version, which I've already written, and I'm in the midst of rewriting and really developing. And so for me, there's a whole generation missing, right? We have the grandmother, we have her granddaughters, but there's a whole generation in the middle missing. And so for me, tackling this idea of the intergenerationality, you know, is critical, because it's not just a Latinx thing. That is such a human thing, to look at the way that what we live plays out over the generations, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was something that I really leaned into. And it wasn't until I was told by someone, hey, there's something here. I think you're actually writing a feature.
I definitely saw it as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a taste of the longer form. The one thing that I didn't feel I could do justice in those 13 minutes to was the queerness aspect, which I allude to by talking about gay marriage for like one really quick little moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that little
And then referencing Rosa Parks and this idea of like social justice movements. For me, this is actually, and I don't want to give away too much about the feature, but queerness is very deeply explored, and the way that queerness moves through the generations, right?
I could see that in one of the daughters, honestly, and one of the granddaughters. I could see it, and I was like, this is, I can see where this story could go if it was a feature. I could see it.
Okay, good. That makes me so happy. Yeah. And so you're spot on.
It's already layered there. I mean, and that speaks to you as a storyteller, that it's already layered, and it's something that I watched immediately. I was like, oh, she's gonna have a part of queer in her. Like I could tell you. Like, so I think it's gonna be really, really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to keep exploring and to share like the future too, like because this is just the beginning of this ride that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Literally this ride, joyride.
Definitely. I mean, I'm in the car right now, and then like we're on this ride with the film.
Full circle. So when watching it, it was the cinematography was beautiful. I felt like I was in the car with them. So what was it like shooting like on location and the beautiful scenery? Like it just seemed like very peaceful to shoot.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that the visual language we employed was a great collaboration between me and the director of photography, Sylvia Lara, who's very talented and has so much, like the breadth of knowledge she has and the way that we can move quickly and pivot, which is important when you're an independent filmmaker because sometimes you don't have a permit.
We know.
It's sometimes really critical to hone in on these moments, right? And the scene is the scene that they discuss why they're on this road trip, right? And I think like the beautiful thing that my producing partners and the team and I kind of saw was we don't cut away. Like these three women are in this moment, and the intimacy, like if we were to just cut away and have all these extra setups, it would break this moment that was so critical, because this journey is about what we're going to leave behind. It's about legacy, right? It's about making sure that those who are left are going to be okay, are going to live and not have to suffer the things that we have lived and we have suffered. So like the shots really reflect that. And you know, one of my favorite filmmakers is Pedro Almodovar. And what I love is that it almost feels like the films are out of time. Like you don't know when they're happening. And so there's this aspect of nostalgia to the film that we really wanted to play on, and that it also carries through the shots themselves, like you just referenced, you know. There's just something about using palette and color to also drive forward the themes of the film.
Yeah.
I agree.
I loved the aesthetic of it all. It was just so beautiful.
And all the symbolism too.
Yeah, which I mean takes me a great lead in on the symbolism about the ring. The ring in the show, usually a ring symbolizes love, right? You know, for a lot of people. And for the grandmother, it definitely was pain for her. And she got rid of that. Why did you choose to have a ring be that for her, to have such a symbolism in the movie?
You know, it's such a good question, and it's like it's not only the shape of a ring, which is a circle, which is this net like loop, right? And it's this idea of also being stuck in a loop, right?
Yeah.
And it's also this idea of promise and feeling this attachment to someone through this loop, right? That we give each other.
Yeah.
And when we have all of this obligation to someone, even if they're not the right person, right? We hold on to that. Like the letting go in that moment is not only her letting go of the pain, but it's also this idea of forgiveness of what someone who now is not in the world did, right? And I think that was really important to just showcase. It's like literally time travel. It's like we're going back to that moment and we're saying, I let it go.
Right.
I'm gonna relinquish this moment and everything that was lived, and I am now, because one of my favorite things is like, you know, the canyon is kind of like a canyon is what happens when something very traumatic or painful happens in our lives. Like I always feel as a writer, like I always feel that pain in my chest, it feels like you could just see right through me, right? It feels like there's that emptiness. And I think that that's exactly why even the Grand Canyon as the place for this to happen is bringing all of those themes together and are looping it into this ring.
Yeah.
You know?
And Edwin, for you to be able to write a Grand Canyon moment so authentically, I guess my question is, have you ever experienced that personally? Is that what inspired you to make, this story such a loop, such a circle?
I have been in my past, excuse me, in my past relationships, and thinking about, being a baby queer, right? When you're still learning, everything about the world and how we should be, and in a way you're still emulating heteronormative ways of relating to someone that you love,
Yeah.
you sometimes forget that people carry their trauma. And, in my past relationships, I have been with people who haven't been in a healthy place, who have caused harm, who have said things that make you feel unworthy, unlovable, who make you feel like they're the only ones who can love you. And if you leave, that's it. It's over.
Triggered.
We all have to look at each other.
We're all looking at each other. Our eyes just bug eyes.
Well, damn.
And that, I know it's triggering. It's hard for me to even talk about, too. But that's the problem, right? And that's the solution. We try to bury things we shouldn't bury, instead of us talking about it and actually being honest, right? So that's one of the layers to why, I had to write that in. On top of also, aside from being a filmmaker, I spent a lot of time working nonprofit, working in HIV/AIDS prevention, and working in domestic violence as an advocate, being a domestic violence advocate, working at an emergency domestic violence shelter, seeing these men, women, and children, members of the LGBTQ community come in their journey as victims, and then to see them in their journey to become survivors. I wanted to honor their stories, and I wanted people to see, especially right now with quarantine and with being at home, some people are quarantined with their abusers. And I wanted to, have someone know that they can choose differently, and they don't have to be abused.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough thing to break through. With quarantine and everything, how has it been with the PBS Short Film Festival? How is that? How is it people able to view everything? It's all digital, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So you can go on pbs.org, /film festival /joyride, and that'll get you directly to the film. Or you can actually, on YouTube, just type in Joyride, one word, and PBS, and it pops up. It's one of the first videos. But as far as quarantine, this film, y'all, was made during quarantine. The post-production was insane. It was a matter of video calls. It was us not being on the same screen, being able to color calibrate.
Wow.
My partner was the sound mixer, Ricardo Licea, our editor and executive producer, J.R. Arinaga. We had so many different video calls, so many documents with notes. Our colorist, Javier Quiste Hernandez, also was so great at getting that labor done. But this was not a normal post-production at all.
I can only imagine.
Would you consider showing your project to, you said you work at a lot of nonprofits for HIV and AIDS and also for domestic abuse survivors. Would you consider showing the project to them and hoping that it will move them or, help them through what they're going through as well?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that our producing team and I hold really dear is this idea of disseminating messages. And I think film is such a beautiful way of saying, hey, think about these things, think about what your journeys are. And so right now we're in the process of networking with domestic violence orgs, right? I having worked in one, know how important it is to have stories not only that are dealing with domestic violence, but that are Latinx, right?
Yeah.
That are also bilingual, right? So that, because this is like, domestic violence doesn't discriminate. Domestic violence happens to everyone across the board. And so those are kind of the places that we're interfacing. So I love that you mentioned that, because that's actually where our team is going, in regards to how we're calibrating the way the movie like keeps its journey past July 24th. So the film is available for viewing online from July 13th to July 24th.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Lovely.
Awesome.
We'll make sure to definitely share that on our social medias and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure.
We want all of our listeners to check it out, because I think what you're doing is so very important. And, just keep on doing that. Get the feature out there. Keep this story alive, because you don't know whose life you're going to save by telling the story.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I think it's very
Thank you for
important.
saying that.
And I just think it's very important for the Latinx community to speak up and be heard and be seen during, especially now, during these revolutionary times.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, and thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Edwin. This has been such a joyride.
You're going to hear it forever. So
No, seriously though, thank you for. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, y'all filled my like emotional tank. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'm doing my thing.
I love the y'all, because honestly, I can hear a little bit of the Brownsville, Texas we mentioned earlier. We're all from Texas.
Yeah,
So the y'all has been like, I'm like, I feel like I know you.
Right.
I feel like I know y'all too. I love it.
Amazing. Once quarantine is over and we're back in LA, we'll link up. How about that?
Yes.
And we'll all get brunch. Our favorite meal of the day.
For real, we'll do it. We'll do it. Well, I look forward to it, and I welcome that day, because I know it's around the corner. I know right now we're going through it, and this has been hard, but we're in this together, and we're gonna just slay. We're gonna slay with our mask. Everybody better slay with their mask on.
Yeah.
Amen.
We're gonna do it safe.
Well, thank you, Edwin. This has been such a treat. And we're going to tell all of our listeners, obviously, that they can catch Joyride on PBS/Film Festival/Joyride.
And where can we find you on social media?
Tell everyone, yes.
Oh, yeah. On Twitter, you can find me at Edwin Alexis. And then on IG, you can find me at edwin.mov, like movie.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Be careful out there, joyriding.
Yes.
We'll talk real soon.